Next guest, the head coach of Oregon State, Trent Bray. Trent, thanks for taking the time. How does it feel to be in game week?
Feels good. Excited about it.
Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the offseason. After some struggles last season, Trent, you hit the portal hard. You made some coaching adjustments. What were kind of some of the overall goals for you and your staff after last season entering this next one?
Yeah, it was kind of assessing, from a schematic standpoint, we could have done better to help give ourselves a better chance to be successful, and then, fill in some holes that we had. And I thought our staff did a good job of identifying those two things and getting it done.
How much more comfortable, Trent, do you feel as a head coach in year two? And kind of going along with that, you obviously brought on a couple guys, Rob Akey, Danny Langsdorf, to name a few. Just how much more comfortable do you feel now, and what have those guys brought to kind of the overarching kind of CEO role of the head coach spot?
Yeah, for as far as the comfort part, it just knowing exactly what the job entails and what you're going into, where you need to allocate time and resources. Having gone through it a year has helped a ton, and then bring on Coach Akey, Coach Kreiner, Coach Langsdorf, guys that have a tremendous amount of experience coordinating. Also, Coach Akey's been a head coach before, so not only advice and a sounding board, but also on the field, a way to help me when I need to put my attention somewhere.
Absolutely. And I remember when we were catching up in spring, even in fall camp, Trent, and, asking you in the scrum. And I noticed asking you talking about when you were back, with the defense this year. I can just tell that you're excited to be back on that side of the ball and kind of be leading again. Just kind of talk about what led you to kind of name yourself the defensive coordinator and how much fun you're having back with the guys, because even talking to some of your guys this camp, it really seems like they're thrilled to have you back there too.
Yeah, it was kind of a couple of reasons. Number one, I needed to get back coaching. That was the part last year, being removed kind of from the team, and you're the head coach, but you're really the only one not coaching. It didn't make much sense to me. So getting back involved from that standpoint, but also there were things that needed to be fixed on our side of the ball, and I just want to make sure I was in there and my hands were on it. And it was either kind of you completely trust someone to do it, or you got to do it. And so it was after the first year, okay, I might dive into this thing, make sure we get it right, how it's done, the actions we need, and then, build guys in the room to hopefully one day take it over.
Just from everything we've seen, quarterback Malik Murphy has looked as good as advertised. I think, seeing him in the spring and then now seeing him all fall camp, the improvement has been, very noticeable, even for us media folks watching it. And was just named a team captain. How important is it to have a dynamic presence under center, and what do you think kind of as a leader he can do for your program this year?
Yeah, I think that dynamic presence and his ability to make all the throws and stretch a defense. I think part of our struggles late in the year offensively were people just loaded the box. And they had to stop Hank in the running game, and they fully committed to that, and we couldn't really threaten them downfield. And I think we can this year with both the receivers we have and Malik, and then his leadership qualities are as good as I've been around at that position. And so he brings a lot, not only from a talent standpoint, but leadership, charisma, all those things you want in a leader and a starting quarterback.
Kind of building off of that, Trent, obviously, I know that, Gundy handles the offense and those kind of things, but just when you've seen, we can see, it just seems like the offense flows really well with Malik. The guys respect him. I've particularly noticed after practices, his conversations with, running backs, tight ends, offensive line, it just seems like he's a dynamic presence, as I said. And, then back to the offense, how much do you think he can kind of elevate the offensive play this year?
Yeah, I think quite a bit. That's what that position, in my opinion, and I think in a lot of people's opinion, has to do. They've got to take command of the offense, and they've got to be able to run the show from a lot of different standpoints. And that's one of his best qualities is his ability to command the offense. He's smart. He knows how to help, whether it's redirecting protection or, where to go with the football, things that a quarterback needs to do that makes a big difference in the success of an offense.
You've got one of the deeper running back rooms that I can remember, Trent, since covering this program, which I've done for a little over 10 years now. And, I see in the depth chart today and just, seeing how, it looks to me 4 or 5 deep. Just talk about how the talent you've got in the backfield and kind of how there's a little bit of versatility as far as maybe one guy that does one thing great, another guy that does something else. It seems like each guy kind of brings something unique to the table.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good players, and then they're a little bit different from each other and their running style and what they can kind of bring to the table. And so I think that really helps when you got runners that run differently. I've always felt from a defensive standpoint, when one guy's a certain way and you're trying to defend him, and the guy that comes in next is completely different, it's hard for a defense to adjust and react to that. So I think we got that in our backfield.
Absolutely, and I think back to last year, obviously before Jam was lost for the season. That was a 1-2 punch with him and Hank, and that was obviously two very different backs, and we saw the success. And now there's an even deeper running back room. So definitely excited to see what they can do this year down for your squad. But one of the other things, Trent, that we talked about early in fall camp and followed up with you after the first scrimmage was the growth of the offensive line. I don't think it was any secret after, spring. There were some questions there, some things that needed to still be kind of filled in. But I really thought that, Coach Kavanaugh and what he's been able to do over the course of camp has been impressive. How much have you liked how that group has grown under Cav? And is he still the same Cav you remember back from the old days?
Oh, yeah, Cav hasn't changed since the first day I met him, which is a great thing. but yeah, there's been tremendous amount of growth. And then getting a lot of healthy body back that we didn't have in the spring or late in the year. Jacob Strand, Tyler Volton, guys like that, which helps the depth. And then also they've been around, they know what that standard is up front, and then having a guy like Coach Cav leading them and develop them, he does as good or better job than anybody in the country. And so you've really seen the growth from not just spring, but from the beginning of fall camp till where we're at now.
Absolutely. And when you're kind of retooling the offensive line, Trent, just talk about how important it was. Obviously, you lost some pieces to graduation, but Van Willis came back. The center can kind of be construed as the quarterback of the offensive line, so to speak. How important was it to have Van to kind of build that unit around?
Yeah, I think you said it, that position is the quarterback of the offensive line, and getting the guy that's not only extremely talented, but has played a ton of football and played it really well. He's been in, the Pac-12 for going on 4 years now, and he's been a starter for 4 years. So he's got a tremendous amount of experience. He's seen all the looks. He's knows how to adjust, the front and make all the calls. So he's a big help and for all those guys around him.
Catching up with Oregon State Trent Bray, or head coach Trent Bray here on the Rip City Drive. Coach, appreciate your time. Just a couple more questions for you. Let's switch gears and talk your side of the ball, some defense. Just from watching camp, everything from the front seven to the back end, it looks to be improved from last year. I've noticed, it's not only just depth, but I think guys have gotten better in the offseason. What do you think has kind of led to kind of the resurgence on that defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, I think it's the guys that were here. Worked extremely hard to get bigger, stronger, faster from a physical standpoint. A lot of them were young last year, so they weren't quite the strength and endurance to withstand some of the things that come in a season. They did a great job in the off season. Coach Candido, our strength coach, did a great job developing those guys physically. And then they've worked extremely hard in the off season, not only getting with coaches in their own time, going out with their position group and working on the skills and fundamentals that it takes to be a great player at their position. It's that hard work, and to watch them develop is great. And then, we batted a couple pieces.
Absolutely. And one of the things from your press conference today, Trent, that really caught my eye was you kind of mentioned that, last year's result against Cal doesn't have any bearing on this year. And kind of along those lines, I'm just kind of curious, obviously you would never, use it as an excuse or anything else, but just in general, as far as last season, was it one of the more injury-riddled campaigns you can remember as like a coach or being on a staff?
It definitely seemed like it. Yeah, it was tough that way. Yes, but like you said, it wasn't an excuse for what happened. But
sure.
Anytime, I think that's anywhere in the country, and at Oregon State, when we stay healthy, we're pretty good. And so that's been a big focus on the strength and flexibility and all the things in the off season to be more durable.
Absolutely. And again, the thing that really has caught my eye is the guys you brought in at edge rusher, trying to improve the pass rush unit. And I think about how big it was to get Nico Taylor back, another guy with the JUCO ruling, and again, have your top tackles for loss guy back. And then I've really been impressed with what I've seen from Kai Wallen, Walker Harris. Just talk about the work you guys were able to do, adding some more pieces there, and how big it was to get Nico back, and then maybe some of the defensive linemen, of course, who can kind of cause some of that havoc too.
Yeah, getting Nico back was huge, and he's looking better than he ever has, both physically and his play. And then Kai Walling's done an amazing job. He's really been dynamic for us, which is great to see. And then getting Zakai's on his back, being healthy, which is another guy with some experience. We'll get back. Walker Harris done a great job, and then the return of Takari Hickles back. And he's a guy that before he got hurt last year was the hardest guy for our front to block. And so getting those guys back has really added some depth to that position that we need to produce more at than we did a year ago.
I know Beaver fans are certainly going to be happy to hear, Trent, that some guys that have been on the shelf are getting close to being back. So that's great to hear. Let's talk a little bit about the secondary too. I think arguably it could be the deepest position group on the team when you talk about, the fact that you guys have some great depth at safety. You've got some great depth at cornerback. How do you like how that group has come together, and how deep do you think you could go if need be?
Well, they've done a great job. They've worked really hard. Again, kind of back to what I said earlier, they've done a great job of taking ownership of that position group, and what happened last year is not acceptable. The way we played defense, and then working very hard to improve that. And they've done a great job. The same thing, young guys that had to play last year are that much more improved. Getting Tyrese Ivey back has been huge. He brings a lot of experience, and he's playing at the top of his game. And I feel really good about that group. How deep do I want to go? I don't know if you ever want to go too deep anywhere.
Sure.
But I feel we got some guys that can go out and play winning football, which is a good feeling.
And obviously, Trent, you being a linebacker, in your playing days, I'm curious to get your thoughts on the inside backers too. Obviously, a couple guys took off at the end of last season, but I think Dexter Foster's potential is off the charts, and obviously I love rooting for a native Oregonian as well. And then I thought what Rajon Davis has been able to bring from USC was great. It was a little disappointing, obviously, to hear the news about Micaiah Tongue, wishing him obviously all the best in his future moving forward. But how do you like the inside depth, and do those guys kind of play with some of the same hair on fire that you did?
Yeah, I like the inside group. Dexter might have scared off a couple guys, to be honest with you. Happy with where he's at and his tremendous growth that he's had from a true freshman year to where he's at now, both physically. I just think a year ago at this time he was 210 pounds. Right now he's 236, and he's moving better and he's stronger than he's ever been. Bringing in Rajon, have liked him for a long time out of high school, liked what he did at SC, and he fits kind of our skill set that we wanted inside back, kind of like an Easton Mascarenas type guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he's done a great job. And then Aiden Sullivan and Jairus Goodman and Cord Shaw, there's some guys there that can play. So it's been good.
Absolutely. A couple more questions here for Trent Bray here on the Rip City Drive. Trent, just a couple more. Appreciate your time as you get ready for the Cal Bears this weekend. Obviously, just kind of looking ahead to Cal, you can always expect a tough defense from Justin Wilcox, the squad. But the reality is it's a very different Bears team than last season with portal movement. How do you kind of go about preparing for that?
Yeah, I mean, this day and kind of like us. I mean, we got a lot of new faces. They've got a ton of new faces as well. You got to prepare for them schematically and how they're going to try to attack you. And then you do your research on the personnel side of it. We played against a couple of those guys that they got out of the portal. Mm-hmm. We recruited a couple of their guys like their quarterback. So we're pretty familiar with who they are. And then getting to know what they're going to do and how they're going to attack you is the big thing.
Absolutely. And last question for you, Trent. Obviously, the schedule this year, final year of kind of the quasi-independent schedule before you guys get into the new rebuilt Pac-12 in 2027. It's, an interesting one with a wide variety of opponents and matchups and, some cross-country travel, all those things. How do you feel about the schedule this year and most notably opening up at Reser Stadium against a Power 4 team?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's very exciting. I think this is what we want. We're a power team, and we deserve to be in that conversation like we always have.
Mm.
And we have a schedule that reflects that. We've got as tough a schedule than as many as half the Power Four teams in the country. So we're playing a bunch of good teams, starting with Cal, and that helped us in recruiting guys. That were looking for places to land out of the portal. They wanted to play at a high level and then against those type of opponents, and you could do that here at Oregon State. And so I think the schedule is exciting for a lot of reasons, but that's a big one, the competition, right where we want to be.
He's Oregon State head coach Trent Bray. You can catch his Oregon State Beavers in action against the Cal Bears Saturday night at Reser Stadium. Trent, I appreciate the time and look forward to catching up post-game after Cal on Saturday night.
I appreciate it.
Oregon State head coach Trent Bray, ladies and gentlemen. Always a great conversation with Coach Bray. Appreciate his time. I know he's wearing a million different hats, not only head coach.